Oh, Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. How is Facebook today? I am here in sunny Central Florida. A little bit gray today, like I said earlier. On the last live, I tried to start at 3 o'clock. It's a little gray, but it is 72 degrees. So, for those of you up north, as I will now repeat myself, na 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 na, it's gorgeous. But it was freezing. It was 39 degrees last night and shivery. So, I've got a sweater on. The dog is growling at people. It's a typical day here at LongBar Creative Solutions. And there he goes. We are working with several wonderful new clients. We have several books out and coming out, all that sort of thing. Warm Bodies, Morgan City, 78, is now out and available on Kindle. Written by Sharon Simpson, PhD, and myself. It is a thriller based on a true story. Sharon, when was in high school, she was in high school in 1978. Obviously, she was in high school. Although she looks like she graduated in '98, she was involved. She was living in a town called Morgan City, Louisiana, and there was a serial killer who was set upon them by the fact that he came to work for the oil industry, and they were not very careful about who they hired. So this gentleman, use the term loosely, was wandering around the country killing people apparently, and he landed there and raped and murdered 5 young ladies, and I believe he killed a young man as well. So we wrote a fictional story about how does one become a serial killer? What happens to you that would break you to this degree? And those of you that believe that some people are born sociopaths, others are made, this one kind of explains how one can be made, if you will. It's a great, great book. We're working on the screenplay next, and I really highly recommend if you have a chance to buy it. It will be on Amazon, and once again, that is Warm Bodies, Morgan City, 1978. Actually, Morgan City, 78. Warm Bodies, Morgan City, 78 for the year, and it is written by Sharon and myself. So that will be on Amazon and eventually Barnes and Noble and Books a Million and any place where books are sold. So that's coming along. Accelerate, our wonderful book, is doing really well that Ziz and I wrote, Ziz Abdul and we are working on our course, which will be coming out in January. We're going to be doing a 10-week course where we'll go through the whole book, mostly chapter by chapter, work on the exercises, and then we will be bringing on guest speakers that will come on every week to talk to the children, the young folks, teens and tweens between the ages of 12 and 16 would be pretty much the target, about careers, about what they want to be when they grow up, about what success means, about what it means to get a mentor. Maybe some of them will find a mentor from these people. We'll have actors and artists and musicians and people who own stores and people who have had athletic careers, coaching careers, just about any kind of thing you can think of that will talk to kids about what it takes to become the kind of thing in life you'd like to be and some of the pitfalls that they've stepped in where not to step is always a good thing. Where don't to step. My topic for today, which is kind of my point of view, Suzanne Evans would say, your point of view, I guess. Ah, there's somebody. Hello, accelerates here. Your point of view. She talks about your point of view, and I tell you a lot about Suzanne because we often do a lot of fun things that she does. We've been involved with her over the years with different things, but I love her thought about point of view, that everyone should have kind of a point of view from which they come to their business, to their maybe even to their life, I guess, really. And I like to say that probably my biggest point of view is that we do what we want 100% of the time. And I hear from people when I actually say that, I often get kickback. People say, Lil, that's ridiculous. I never do what I want. I always do what somebody else tells me to do. I have my husband, my wife, my job, my this. I hate my job. I don't want my job. I don't hate the relationship I'm in. Well, the thing is, you are there, and that choice was made by you. And it is very maybe trite, and maybe it's a little bit almost maybe almost a little bit difficult to say this in great, but it is a great truth that even the worst things you're involved in, the worst things that you think you don't like, a job you need because of money or whatever, you don't necessarily need to quit the job you're in because maybe you need to pay bills. And even if you hate your job, you may have to stick with it, but you don't have to stick with it forever. You can make a road to something else. You don't have to be in the relationship you're in forever. You can find strength and find ways to get out of it, whether it's happily, unhappily, peacefully, unpeacefully. You you have to take care of your children, but you also can train them to take care of themselves better and to be the kind of people that you want them to be for themselves and to help them. And yeah, you can't just walk away from kids. I'm not saying you walk away from things, but I'm saying you made the decision to have kids. And if you made that decision, then you got to find the best way that you can approach that, whatever that is. But in terms of business, and especially business and work environments, this is what we talk about here mostly. We don't talk about, this isn't a life, coaching session. It's a business coaching session. If you hate the job you're in and you want to do something else, then what you need to do is start to plan for that stepping stone to go to that next place. If the business you're in is not doing what you wanted it to do, if it's you're not, you got to start to think about, well, okay, this isn't going, and it's your fault. Take responsibility. Stop lying to yourself and saying, oh, well, it's the fault is because of the economy. The fault is because of the, yes, we're in the worst economic state we've been in probably since the Great Depression. But guess what? There are people making money. There are people figuring it out. There are ways to go and do something different. And if you're lucky to have a job and you want to keep that job for a time being, I understand it. But if you want to build a business, you want to get away from the job you're in, you don't like that career you're in, we can help you with that. That's what people like us do. That's exactly what we do. Uh, Cindy says she's excited about Warm Bodies because she is. She made she made the beautiful cover for it. But I meet so many people who say, if only, you know, if only this happened or that happened, if my husband was more supportive, if I could make more money, if I could only write my book. Oh, I hear that all the freaking time, which always brings me back to my Tony story of the guy who said he wanted to play piano if he had all the money in the world, and I told him he wouldn't. I said if he had all the money and time in the world, he wouldn't play piano because he'd do it now. There's no reason not to write a book now. Sharon would tell you that. Sharon will tell you that story. She has children and a husband and a family, and she still found the time. It took her a little longer. Susan and I took a year to write the book we're in. This coaches and teaches, and gosh, he has a super busy schedule. So do I. And I'm writing books for other people that pay me to do that. Whereas with us, we took a shot to write these books that we want to see that people can, can especially Ziz and I with the book that we wrote. We that's a labor of love. We said we got to help kids. Kids are not doing so hot. We got to figure out how to help them. Geez, the world isn't what it used to be. It's not like, oh, I go to college, I get a job, I'm going to be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. It's not that way anymore. It's very difficult. Kids don't know what to do or what to be. So we sat down and we said, how can we carve out the time to write a book? And we did. Granted, I write books a lot for a living, so that part of it for me is easier than for him. Not for him. He spent a lot of time and a lot of effort researching and finding the right answers and finding the things to add to that book. He didn't say he wasn't a Mexican. He was a Mexican. He's not Mexican. I'm just saying that. But he was a doer. He didn't lie to himself. He didn't say I can't. He did what he wanted 100% of the time. He got his work done. He carved out time to get the book written. The book is now written, and now we carve out time to make the course. Don't lie to yourself. Don't come up with excuses for all the things in your life that aren't the way you want them to be because they are the way you want them to be, or that you would do something else. You would simply do something else. It would. And sometimes it is the right decision to do things that maybe aren't what you in your soul hope for. Your mom is sick, you could say, you know what, mom, too bad. Tough. Or you can say, I'm going to help mom and take care of mom, but I'm also, while I'm doing that, making plans for what I'm going to do to make sure I'm okay, that I'm happy. I had my dad for 10 years after my mom died. He lived with me for 10 years. Was it ideal? No, but it was my decision. I could have put him in a nursing home. I could have said, Dad, go live on it. I could have found an apartment for him. I could have done a lot of things. I made the decision for him to live with me because I wanted him to be safe. He had a lot of medical problems. He had a lot of issues. He needed someone with him, and I made that decision. It turned out to be the best decision of my life, but it was clearly my decision. And I never say that somebody made me do it or I was pressed to do it or I was put upon because those are decisions we make. So when it comes down to my theory, my point of view, that we do what we want 100% of the time, I want to talk to you guys that are interested to do something that will take you to the next place you want to go without excuse, without bullshit, without I can't, this because of. No. Decide, make a decision, do what you want, and figure out how to get to what you want, and we'll help you. So let's say you want to write a book, because that's what I do. Maybe you don't have time to write a whole book. Right now, my buddy Charlene and I are putting together a compilation book. And for $1,000 or a little bit less than $1,000, you can be in that book and have books to stand out and say I'm a published author. If what you want is to be a published author and you don't have time to write an entire book, do a book like that. We're doing compilation books. We do them all the time. This is going to be a leadership book for women entrepreneurs. So if you want to you want a book that you can hand out because you want to be a speaker, let's say, and you're afraid to be a speaker and you don't, what am I going to do? How am I going to express myself? It is very, very good. Not necessary, but very good for speakers to have a book. Very often we work with them. So let's say you want to start a speaking career slowly, but you say, Lil, I can't afford, what it costs to do a full book. I don't have the time right now, and I don't want to. I don't want to take the time to do it. I always say, what do I always say? One page a day in 365 days, 1 year, you'd have a 365-page book, which is half of what you need. But if you don't have time for that, look into compilation books. Look into writing, a book that is cost effective to be 1,500 to 2,000 words about your subject matter, about what you do and who you are, and then get into a compilation book, and that'll be published, and you'll be there with other people that are, you know, excited to be in that book with you, and then now you're promoting each other. So let's say you're in a book with, we're hoping for about 25 people for this book, probably would be the number we're looking at. Now you got 24 people advocating for you as well as for them, and all their audience, and all of our audience, and all the people we market to. So you've got an abundance of people who are going to look at that book. Those books are done very, very often. So you start small. Whatever it is, the steps you want to take. You could write blogs, put together a bunch of blogs, and in a year you'd have enough for a book. I have a client who's a nurse and a lawyer, and we put a book together for her that's primarily from her blogging and some videos she had what do you call that? When transcribed. That's the word I was looking for. You think I know words? I'm a freaking writer. But she took those things and she put it together and made a book. So that's one way to write a book. You want to start a business? Leslie, my client Leslie. I hope she watches this later. Leslie went through a terrible divorce. I told you that story, and not terrible, but pretty terrible. Cheating, not a good thing. Married a great new guy. She has a nice life going, and she's going to be a coach for people who went through what she went through. She has a full-time job, but she works at it every day. She's one of the most coachable people I've ever met. I'm really thrilled to work with her. So she's decided that she's going to do what she wants. She wants to not work every day. She'd like to someday have this be her career. So it can't happen right this second. Okay, fine. But it can happen. And if she starts to make those steps toward it, and like I always say, build the boat, so she can start to punch a hole in this boat. So she can build, she's building this one over here. And maybe in a year, she will spend a whole lot of her time helping people like herself who've been through a bad divorce, who or are thinking about divorcing, and maybe even help some people not get divorced. That's one of her goals too. I actually got her on an interview with a woman named Eva, who was a lovely woman. Eva, if you see this, I would think of the world of you. I can't say her last name. I think it's Miletic, if I say it right. I'm sorry if I butchered that, Eva. But Eva did not get a divorce. She had a situation with her husband where she would have liked to have gotten a divorce in some ways, but she made the decision that they would work through it, and they did, and they stayed together, and they had to both fight for it. Her and her husband, they decided it was worth the fight. So something like that, that's the kind of thing that Leslie would help with. And so here you have a person who has, by the way, Leslie's husband's not been well. He's had some very serious health issues. Thank God he's coming through them very well, and we wish him nothing but the best. But she's had to deal with family, kids, husband, job, and still wrote a book. She wrote this whole book, and it's almost done. It's down to the last couple of things to be done. Books getting published. Websites are going up. Logo is gorgeous. Decisions. We make them every day. Everything you do is a decision. Everything. What to have for lunch, what to have for breakfast, where you're gonna, whether to take this car or that car to the mall, whether you're gonna shop for this, what am I gonna buy today? What I'm gonna put my left foot first or my right foot. It's a decision. Every little thing, life is a series of decisions, constant, and you're making them yourself 100% of the time. But when you kid yourself into believing that your decisions are made by someone else or by some external great thing that's happening to you, that's when you're lying to yourself. things will happen to you. There will be, I live in Florida, looking out the window. There will be more storms. There will be more fires. There will be more floods. What you do about them, though, there will be more waves. Some will be very, very big. Some will be beautiful and you can ride them, and some will suck all kinds of. They're coming, but the decision is what to do with them. And that decision is yours. 100% of the time. Pack your shit up and run from the storm, ride it out. There's some things that'll happen to you as an act of God, if you want to say, for lack of a better, consideration. Maybe for those of you who believe in God or don't, act of nature, act of Mother Nature, whatever. Yeah, those things happen to you. But how you behave in them is your decision. How you behave after them is your decision. What you do with the tragedies and the good stuff and the bad stuff and the great stuff that happens to you is 100% your decision. And what you want to do with your life, your career, your family life, your relationships, whatever it is, it's your decision, right? So that's my point of view. And I think Kate has put the link to Warm Bodies in here, which is very, very cool. And Accelerate, because she's a really good little promoter. So those of you who see this later, we've lost most of our friends due to the time zone change. I think they went to look at it and thought we were coming on at 4, and we're not. I'm not going on at 4. I've got to go write a book. I've actually got a chapter to write this afternoon about a very interesting story, and work on a couple of other things today. It's been a busy day. It's been a busy, I guess it's been a busy year. 2020 is coming towards an end. We're going to have a couple more weeks of lives, and next thing you know, it's going to be 2021. And God, this sucked. I'm not going to say it hasn't, and it's still sucking. A lot of people are dying every day. That's very sad. But even that's a decision. Wear a mask or don't. Get sick or don't. There are people who got sick not because of that, obviously. There are people who had no idea. That simply, God, I don't even know how some of these people get sick, to be honest with you. Some so careful, and yet people still get sick. And that's what I mean by, what do you do? And if you lose a loved one, how to grieve is a decision. How long are you going to put that on yourself? And before you go, okay, that sucked. Because it did. My friend Will Smith, if he ever hears this one, he wrote a really great book, and he talked a lot about grieving, and even that is a decision. Like, you have to grieve the people that you lose. You have to, the people that we're losing like crazy right now. I grieve for all of them. I grieve for the families that have nobody, they're missing a person today because of what happened and this crazy thing that's happening to us. But those people that we lose want us to live our life and go on. And if they didn't, oh well, that's not cool. But I really think that most of the people that love us, when they leave us, want us to go forward. And they want us not to spend our time wasting our time spinning in circles, right? So those are the kinds of decisions. So if you say, well, I can't go forward because my father died, I can't live. Well, you can. That's a decision. You have to find the inner strength, and it's not easy. I'm not saying that's easy. It's hard. And you have to find the inner strength to quit your job and start a new business. You gotta, I think the Buddhists would say, leap and the net will appear. But you have to believe the net is there, and you have to take the initiative to jump into that net. You got to take a chance. You got to find the fortitude. You got to find your own. You got to self-soothe and find that moment when you can say to yourself, "Yes, I had a bad step back," or "Jesus, I wish I could kill this guy I'm living with." But you're not gonna kill him, obviously. But I hate my relationship, or I hate my job, or I want to do something else in my life. Do it. Push through. Find a way. Make the decision because it's your decision 100% of the time. So, buy our books. Make the decision to buy our books. Uh, Come to me when you want to do something new with your life. When you say, you know what, Lil, I really want to write that book. I'm going to do it. To that end, I will also tell you that we're starting 2 courses in January at some point. One will be for an 8-week course to help you get your book written. And it's cheap. It's a cheap course. It's $600, $597. If you want to take that course all month, we're pre-ordering that course. And it will be a live course. You'll be on a Zoom with me for about an hour and 15 once a week. I'll have office hours for about an hour or so a week. We can just jump in and visit and say, hey, Lil, I'm stuck on this or whatever. We'll have one-on-one time with me a couple of times a month. We'll get in there a couple of times during the course of that. It's dinner for sixes. Sometimes you have to pack your favorite books and leave. Yeah, it's nice to pack. That's right, Kate. It's absolutely true. I wrote a play called Dinner for Six, and the guy has to make a life decision that changes his life. And he picks six books off the shelf, puts them in a bag, throws his clothes in it, and leaves. And yeah, you sometimes have to do that. So if you're thinking about writing a book, let's go back to my, why I do this, because I want you to work with me. I love people to work with me. For a miserable $597, you get about $75 a week, and you can make payments. We have a 3 payment program. I think it's two something payment, but 8 weeks. We will talk every week in a group. There'll be about 6 or 8 people, I hope, in the group. That's all we're looking for, small groups. And you'll get to read a little bit of what you're working on. You'll get to talk about your outline. You'll get to talk about the point of view of your book and your overall arch of your book. Um, we will talk about your story arc, that kind of thing. Mostly we're talking about business books, memoirs, business memoirs. Not so much fiction. I prefer that we work on those mostly, but that's the kind of books we're looking to work on. So if you thought about writing a sales book or a leadership book or a business memoir and you want to talk about what you've done in business, we'll be doing that. And then there'll be a Facebook group. There'll be a private group for you to interact with one another. And as I do this 2 or 3 times a year, those more people will join that group and you'll be able to interact with them and share information and share what you're writing, share what you're thinking about writing. So, that's going to start sometime mid-January. If you're interested in that, please message me, or actually, you can even message Kate or myself, Caitlin Stewart, and we'll hook you up. We're going to pick the right evening. I would say we're probably going to do early evenings, once a week. Like it'll be maybe a Tuesday night at like 7 or something like that. So we'll have a once a week meeting, and you will get a chance to go through what you need to know to write your book. We'll talk about outline, we'll talk about perspective, we'll talk about point of views, we'll talk about character development, we'll talk about, because even with a business book, there's development of the people that you're dealing with. We'll talk about, what stories, how to use story in a business book, that kind of thing. So it should be, hello, never mind. So anyway, so there'll be a lot of uh, a lot of that, and then it'll be office hours. There'll be time for you to actually speak with me whenever you feel like dropping in. It'll be a nice like drop in. Then we're also going to do one for ghostwriters. If you are a writer, know a writer, or somebody who thinks they want to be a writer, they have to have written quite a bit though. I don't want people who've never written at all. We're going to do a course on ghostwriting and how to become a ghostwriter. My friend Linda will be helping me with that a lot, and we're actually putting together this again very inexpensive. It'll be sale price is $597, 8 weeks, and in those 8 weeks you'll also get a workbook and you'll get a toolbox, and that toolbox will give you uh, some contracts that you can retool. They'll give you questions you can ask people. A lot of little pieces of NDAs, non-disclosures, which you need because somebody writing a book with you, they want you to sign that, and you'll have that at your disposal. So we'll give you a bunch of tools, and it'll be kind of cool. So that will teach you. That course will take you week by week through what I do as a ghostwriter, how I interview people, what I do to get people, how, and even how to market yourself as a ghostwriter. So there's lots of bonuses. It really would be very helpful for someone who is struggling as a writer. Maybe you're writing fiction and you're thinking, why am I working at the 7-Eleven or something, whatever it is you're doing, a couple of days a week. We'll take you through the process that ghostwriters do. But if you're a writer and you're doing something else instead of writing to support your writing, so like let's say you're writing fiction books or whatever, and you think, geez, I would love to make money writing while I'm writing a novel that I think could be a great novel for the world to read, the great American novel, whatever. So instead of working at a store, working at your job, and you want to write more and more and more, so that becomes your career, we're going to teach you a little bit about blogging and a little bit about social media posting and other kinds of writing, copywriting, white paper writing, that sort of thing. We're focused mostly on ghostwriting and writing books. So if you're interested in that, message me about that. Or if you know a young person maybe who wants to be a writer for a living, for $600 for 8 weeks, it's going to be a phenomenal course with lots and lots of materials that they can use and utilize later. LongBar Creative Solutions, longbarcreatives.com, that's our main company. Ghostwriters Network, ghostwritersnetwork.com is our writing company and publishing. And we love all of you that come and watch us and check out what we do, kind of thing. So please let us know if we can help you with anything at all. We're always happy to help you. And if you're interested in learning anything that we do, from business development to speaking to writing a book, we're here for you, man. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I did not do a live on Thanksgiving on account of I was eating turkey. So I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to leave Kate this wonderful video to eventually put on YouTube. So if you didn't see it, come watch it in a replay later, or catch it on our YouTube channel, on the LongBar Creative Solutions YouTube channel. All right, peace out. Have a great rest of your day.